eating my last bite of pizza, so bear with me here. But let me know, guys, what would you like me to talk about today? You guys are interested in something specific? Remember, today can be mixed, can be chart prime, can be Piper Academy, can be tools, can be indicators, can be questions about the market, long, short strategy, so on and so forth. So go for it. Let me know what would you guys like me to talk today.
Man, honestly, I haven't been around too much the last few days. I know the market's kind of been bonkers. Like last night, it kind of went nuts with some Japan stuff and stuff in Asia. Man, could you just tell me what you think's happening over this week and what you kind of see the market doing and if you're looking at any particular coins to to play this week trade.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now everything is kind of like in the red. Let me even just bring it up to see how is it playing out at this point. So let's just do CNBC really quick. Here it is. We're still like in the same DJI, S&P, Nasdaq, Russell 2K, and VIX, right? So they are going down, except for the VIX going up. This is very close to what we had before. The only thing is that all of the indexes are like they're 2.4% downwards. That is a lot for an index to be moving that. I mean that big. Another thing that I want to point out it is the crypto bubbles. Right, we already have them. Everything is green, especially those meme coins. I mean, fart coin, right? I mean, I know Fartcoin is technically both a meme coin and a utility token, but still, right? STX, a good one. In this point, let me also talk about gold. So, I think I'm gonna be giving you back the class of today in morning, or a overview of the class of today in morning, which is traditional market are just falling, right? They're not doing that good. But if we take a look at Bitcoin is been going upwards, right? I mean, we see right now the inverse head and shoulder that we've been talking about, a breakout, right? Not only that, many things that we've been trying to foresee, which was a breakout of a trend line, going back above the dynamic reactor, a Wyckoff. Oh, not in here. Let me just get it here. Perfect. The Wyckoff schematic predicting a possible top of the range. So going all the way down here. Basically, we were down here with this double bottom. All right. So the double bottom indicates a bottoming signal, right? We were looking at a possible V shape, double bottom, sweep of the lows, whatever this is going to be, right? Because the spring, it is not a V-shaped recovery. I mean, it can be a V-shaped recovery, but it's not the last thing or the only thing that can be. Whatever it needs to happen here to call out a bottom, right? So to tell you, hey, you know what? If you thought that we were going lower, well, this is your indication that we're not, all right? And then the next step for me to trade is either the sweep of the lows, the double bottom, or the breakout retest, right? In this case, was a double bottom. We call that double bottom. We took some profits out of the dynamic reactor, and then we were already at that point back into this line, back inside the outer range, and this is important, right? So when we come back down into this itty bitty regression or pullback, that is what I jumped in back into another trade right in here. How do I know? Well, I didn't know, but I was looking at my oscillator in here. I was looking for that flip of the ribbon. I saw the big body candle. I saw one candle of reversal. That was my entry point right there. And I entered into a previous area of support, right? Where there also were candles right there. In fact, it mostly paired somewhere around that area for my entry. When I broke this dynamic reactor, I held a little bit. I took my first half of it, since this was a half of a position. Right now, at this moment, it stays within a 1/4 of a position right here. So I have not yet taken fully profits of this position itself. And then we broke out, and this was my next entry with one full position. Why? Because of Wyckoff, right? At this point, we're looking at the same area. And as you see, they're very alike in the position, right? They're not that far away from one to each other. And how do I know that they were inside that range? Well, that's why we have been following not only the main chart, which is this one here, where we define top of the range, right? Breakout of the measured trend line, right? A possible head and shoulders. But also, if we go back into more in the past, we talked about this range. And if we talked about the specific of Wyckoff, we created this chart, right? This chart shows you the either range, basically where we're neither taking entries, but this is our I don't know, let's just say where we accumulate the gains, right? So basically we enter here, we exit there, right? We enter here, we exit there, right? So on and so forth. Or I mean, if you really wanted to, you could be entering something like that and then exiting something like that, right? So just so you understand, or that we understand the range itself, right? So now that we see the range, well, where are we located at this point? We're at the top of the range, right? At this point, I already have taken profits. I'm out of this trade, of this trade itself. I'm still holding this trade right down here. And why? Because this is a very well positioned trade. Despite this is a 1/4 of a trade, this one it was making as much as this other one. And that is because it's positioned relative to the price action at this point, right? So what am I taking profits all the way up here, right? I mean, if I'm showing you this chart which shows that breaks out, retest, and off we go to Valhalla, right? Because I don't know if this is going to be truth, right? I just know that we're just completing one part of the schematic. The importance of Wyckoff, it is just the range, not the breakouts. Why? Because when you start studying the Wyckoff theory, you'll see that this guy just went nuts on its possibilities. It was like, all right, can it be done? Well, then let's do a graphic on it, right? So you'll find, like, I don't know, easily 20 different schematics of Wyckoff, which I don't advise you to learn them. I mean, I have studied them, but I don't really learn them. I have found that this one, the accumulation scheme, this one, it is kind of the one that rules them all. And then maybe the spring is higher, it's lower, the breakout is faster, so on and so forth, right? So because I don't know that this is going to be happening or not, I'm going to be assuming that right here, there is my resistance, which is my resistance at the end of it all, right? Another theory that we've been talking about, it is the explanation of a fake out. For example, let me see if I can get rid of this so I can show you a good fake out scheme, which talks about, all right, if you have a fake out in a pattern and you break back inside, whichever pattern, call it a range, call it a triangle, call it a whatever you want, all right? But right here, you see that we have something like a triangle, all right? We have a fake out retest, right? And I mean, this one looked like we're going downwards, like for sure. Look at the strength of that breakout, right? This for me, in fact, it was a confirmed breakout. Went down below, right? Breakout retest, and then we closed back inside. Closing back inside like this tells me, or raises the possibility for the price action to bing or ding or reaches the top of the pattern or the other side of the pattern, like immensely, like crazy. I don't know how much is it. I haven't go back and actually back tested it, but like based on my experience, it's something above 60%, which is something to be worth taking or looking into it, right? Just by itself. which means if I'm closing inside this pattern, I'm looking for them to then the price action to hit the other side of that pattern, right? So the same thing happened. Let me just get rid of this. The same thing is happening here, right? We fake out. We start closing inside of the outer range. We start closing inside of the main range. Usually that means that we're going to be hitting the top of the range. So we hit the top of the inner range, and right now we are on the outer range. Can I assume that we're going to hit a TP top? No. But am I on closing position zones? Yes. Another thing of importance is that I'm making a structure. Usually that is a good opportunity to re-enter, all right? So the only question is, are you going to be re-entering at the top right there? Are you going to be re-entering on structure? The answer can vary, right? I mean, sometimes you're going to get to buy the top, and that is just the way it is, right? So if you have, sure, that puppy, nice. Yeah, absolutely. But, well, not absolutely, because look at what we got in here. Let me show you last time we have a goose hit.
So much money. Crypto is so
The famous goose head.
Exactly, the famous goose head. And they're pretty alike. Same zone, right? Same zone. Same structure. Blast off, little retracement. Blast off, little retracement, right? And then further continuation before a major pullback, right? So that is the famous goose head. So what would happen here? We don't know, right? I mean, JR, you could be absolutely right. I mean, this could just, like go to hell, right? In fact, that's what I took some of my profit. In fact, this position is out. So I'm not that worried, right, at this point, because this entry is still alive. So I still have a lot to collect in there. That's why I'm so calm on this point, right? Because the amount of losses that I could have here, it doesn't represent a major loss. I can even close it all the way down here and wait for it to maybe see if we're going to be pressing back down or not, right? So, oh, thank you, my friend. So what could it be? I mean, at this point, are you going to be buying the top? Maybe, but if you're going to be buying the top, this is what you need to know, right? So how did it reacted? We need to set up a stop loss. So let's go for a long position. Our entry should have been right there. Why? Because that is our next support. If you did not take it, maybe wait for another one. But going for another one here, oh man, that is dangerous, all right? Your stop loss should be very tight, something around that. And this is just because you're taking the risk. You don't want to lose anything here, or you don't want to lose, as of a one full position. You need to avoid losing one full position in here, right? Because you're at the top. You're at the top. So the same thing happens, like, for example, with gold, right? Let me make a pause right now. And let's go to gold, because this is an important lesson that we keep learning. Like all of us, including me, right? Or if I can, I did incorporate all of you into my learning, if you realize that, right? So what I'm trying to say, I am still learning on this, right? Remember the goose head? Remember the same pattern that we were talking about? What it just happened? Same. Goose head, flip back, move upwards, right? Usually, I'm looking for something a little bit more like this, right? Or have a little bit more structure. In fact, on our last Friday, I believe, setup, there it is. We were expecting some more structure, a retracement, and then a pullback. All right. This pullback, it is for fun just now, because I kind of like I went free-handed here. All right. So just so you know. So what are we going to be having? Because we have a bearish divergence. We already have the pullback. Now what we need, it is we already have the further front run, right? What we need on a goose head, it is a pullback, right? To complete an actual goose head, right? So let's see. Where's our previous goose head? Here it is. Further move to the upside. exiting zones, and then your pullback, right? Right now, the only difference that I have, it is the location of the goose head based, or sorry, of the candlestick pattern based on my goose head. You see? So let's copy it so I can show you what I mean in here. Oh, come on, where are you goose head? Here it is. From here to there, let's go all the way like this, all right? So where is the goose head? Here is the goose head right there. So let me grab it and let me paste it inside that goose head. You see that? So breaking through here, we extended all the way to taking profit zones. We did not broke out of the range, right? But if this goose head plays out, we could be breaking out of the range, right? And look at that. We have an alert, a trend line with an alert at 89,585, right? Because that was the same alert. There we go. That took us out in a loss at here. Remember that one? So it took us out in here. We buy 3 times, right? And then we were not able to get it out of here. Why? Because I was asleep. And then I took it out of here. All right. So this is not only personal zone for me. It is also the area, look at that, where we have constantly rejecting, and rejecting. So the question still remains. And oh, let me invite you guys back to speak. Sorry for that. Yeah, there we go. So the question remains, right? What are you going to be doing here? Are you going to be, I don't know, longing or shorting? It doesn't matter, whatever you like, right? I mean, if you're going to be shorting, you just apply the same, but to the inverse. Let me just explain that because I don't think that was a good explanation, all right? Where was, all right, I think let's do it here. All right, let me just get right. Oh, by the way, this is our target if you're longing out of here where we predicted, right? Nonetheless, because I have this one, I don't care about taking this other zone. So the rest of it is just gonna be all right, better for this entry, and this entry is already being taken its place. All right. If you're shorting this part of the market, let me go here. All right, yeah, better. All right. If you're shorting right here, let's go to a short position. Let's just call it right now. You're aiming for your previous high. Give yourself a wiggle room, and this is going to be a full entry. Why? Because you are on exit zones. You are on shorting zones. Where are you going to be going for? TP number 1, the big AF trend line that we have going on in here. All right? TP number 1. This is where you're going to be reanalyzing if you need to head switch. All right? Then TP number 2. And I would say maybe you could be going for the dynamic reactor, but in this case, I would avoid dynamic reactor, and I will be going for this area right here because that's where we built up confluence last time. That's how we invented this trend line. All right. So we knew that we are creating a bullish parameter. It was only matter to know whether we have a sweep of the lows, breakout retest, and then deciding if we're going to be shorting or not, or if we have what, a breakout retest, right? So remember, based on this other trend line, it's not about your breakout, it's about your retest, and off we go. All right. So the panorama is still a little bit bullish, fairly bullish. I will say that rotation of capital, it's been leaking out. And why is that? Well, if you go to now we're going to be talking about major things in market, right? If you go to DJI, SPX, NASDAQ, Broz, VIX, and also we're looking today morning at oil prices. I don't know why it's not showing it right now, but oil prices, look at that. It's just everything is just going downwards, right? I mean, and if we just take a look at gold, oh my God, look at gold. Gold up, silver up, Copper, not that much. Why? Because we're seeing slow earth industry. This is not good. I mean, I really want to see copper and platinum going up. Why? Because those two are telling me that the construction is up and running. When we start seeing platinum, aluminum, and copper going down, industry, construction industry for copper, aluminum for construction industry also, and platinum for chemical industry going downwards, that is slow of economy, right? Economy is slowing down. And then you see gold and silver going up. This is fear in the market, all right? Today in the Piper Academy, we talked about a possibility, or we called it like, is Bitcoin the new gold? We're far from that, just so you know, right? We're far from that. It is kind of like what everybody's going to be talking about at this point. Why? Because everything is falling, but Bitcoin and gold. But the actual thing, it is that when you as an investor, especially a newer investor, like this generational investor, everybody who's between 20 to 45, right? Because remember that this markets have been for a long time. Everybody that is going from 60 farther ahead, they usually started not with crypto, right? So if you're between, I mean, you can be 60, but if you started in crypto, well, you are this generation, right? But most of us, the bulk of us, it's between 20 and 35, 40, right? So what's happening? We was born with the next bubble. And I'm calling it bubble, but because we see up and down, up and down, up and down, but majorly we just go up, which is Bitcoin, right? So you calling me old? No, man. I'm not. I'm also at the edge of it, bro. Sure, okay, third. What is full person? Lol, bro. All right. So the thing here, it is that oh man, you guys got me. The thing is that we were born with Bitcoin bursting, right? So it burst in our beginning of our trip, right? Most likely, most of us were drawn into the actual stock market or into the market, right? Based on Bitcoin and its nuances, right? So that is what I call this generation, this newer generation, right? So yeah, I mean every case is particular, but if you started with Bitcoin or Bitcoin was one of your pillars, right? You are the newer generation. What's happening with that generation? You go to gold. Why? Because you read everywhere that gold is a safe paradise, which has been proven, which is all right, which is fine, which is the truth, right? It is, I mean, it is manipulated AF, right? We all know that. But if you look at this, you go like, all right, where do I jump in? Right? Like, come on, do I see a clean entry? Nah, I mean, man, and every single time I go to bed, that damn thing bounces right from me and I cannot catch it, right? So this is basically, all right, so what you do, you go to the next thing that you like, which is Bitcoin, right? And you have heard, which again, is truth, but it's not there yet, that Bitcoin is being built to fight against inflation, to fight against not depression. Oh man, I always confuse that word. Forget about that word. It is recession, all right? To hedge against recession, right? So what you do, you go to Bitcoin and you say, hey, this is not looking bad. I mean, it's going downwards, but right now we're having a clean entry. It is not as gold, right? So you buy a little bit of gold and then the crumbs or the rest of it goes to Bitcoin, right? Let's just say seasoned traders, they do that. I mean, I buy a lot more gold and then my crumbs go to Bitcoin, right? All of us do crumbs on gold and the bulk on Bitcoin, right? But that depends. The thing is that what is in the mind of people at this point, or what are the bulk of the traders at this point? not the volume, but the momentum or the speed, the money flow. It is younger, newer, this generation traders. So our money, it is flowing to not by volume but by speed to Bitcoin after looking at gold, right? So I think that's important to understand because everybody's fearful, right? Everybody's fearful, and today Alex at Crypto showed in the chart primes classes a comparison between the charts of gold and the chart of Bitcoin. Let me see if I can do that. I don't know if I will be able to. He showed me how to put one chart on top of another one, but I don't quite remember how to do that. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's go to the daily. Let me just wrap this one up. And then do you guys remember how to do that?
Yep.
Yeah? How do I do it?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I don't know. Let me see. Maybe I can just right click in here and do.
You can use the compare function, and that's you can click the plus sign right next to this XAU USD.
Oh, perfect. That's the one I was looking for. So the plus sign next to the what?
Where the ticker is XAU USD on the top left. Yeah,
Top left.
you were
Top.
almost there. You were almost the plus. Yeah. This the sign above left to the
Ah,
1
got it.
minute.
Got it. All right. Got it. Thank you, my friend. Really appreciate it. All right. You got me right there. Thank you so much for that. All right. So let's go and take a look at lights. All right. So, and I did gold again. Shoot. All right. It should be BTC, right? BTC. USD. All right. Bitstamp. Perfect. All right. So the point that Alex was mentioning here, what can't I, how do I pair their percentages? Regular, I guess? No, it needs to be percentage.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, come on. This is just ridiculous. Logarithmic.
All right.
All right, perfect. Much better. All right. And then this one here. I don't know how he moved it so it's not tied one to another. Maybe regular. That's not at all regular. Percentage to index to 100 maybe.
Oh, okay.
All right, whatever. Let's see if we can do this. Let me go to monthly, and this is not gonna work in monthly. Daily, 12 hours, and maybe. The point that he was making, there you go. I think this is gonna be work. All right, perfect. That the gold, it always fronts run the price of Bitcoin, or Bitcoin follows the price of gold. So you might be saying, all right, so what happens with gold? Gold goes go up, and then Bitcoin goes up, right? What happens at this point? Well, what happens here? Gold starts a little bit, and Bitcoin falls. Why? Because it's much more volatile, right? You have that lesser move, then it burst. So right now we're looking for a burst on Bitcoin, right? So the same thing happens over and over. So for example, right here, price of gold stalled and then went up. Price of Bitcoin went down. So look at whenever gold kind of like stalls or moves sideways, Bitcoin retraces into a ginormous bull flag. All right. And then when gold pops, then Bitcoin pops, right? So it first gold moves first, and then Bitcoin moves after, right? So it's not exactly at this point 1-to-1 because I was not able to do it the way that I liked or that Alex showed. I'm gonna be talking to him so he can show me the how to manipulate, the sizes of each one independently. Nonetheless, the point is that we see that residual move, and that is paired for this whole year, at the very least. And what can we be assuming from that type of a relationship? That Bitcoin moves based on the fear that gold is not able to catch. What does that mean? There's fears in the market. Investors go to gold. New generation investors see it, right? And then because they're late to the party, they do a little bit of gold and then do a much bigger position of Bitcoin. And that latency leads to concentration of assets, right? Build up of volume and then burst of the market to the upside following gold based on the fear. But make no mistake, Bitcoin, if the markets fall, Bitcoin is also going to be drawn back down. The difference is that Bitcoin, as with the pandemic, right, it's going to be coming back up to previous prices faster than the regular markets, right? So Bitcoin falls faster, but rises up again faster, right? So I think that is the key at this point, where the market cap is not there yet, right? So when we see more market cap, we're gonna be seeing more resilience of Bitcoin in these adverse situations. But so far, this is what we got. So TB, did I answer your question? Did I give you maybe an overview on what's happening?
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
Great. All right. So you also asked me like, what coins could we be looking at? I would say at this point, everything just moved, right? Everything just moved. If you weren't looking for an entry, if you weren't there for a previous movement, I think chasing after the prices at this point is going to be very dangerous. I'd rather let it set. Like, let's come back tomorrow or even Wednesday, and then start looking for that possible reentry, right? And that is because, let's go to crypto bubbles. Let's go, for example, Filecoin. Oh, look at that, PLSX, right? But how could you know the next one is going to be going up? You don't. That is the thing. That's why I use the crypto bubbles as a bursting, let's just call it bursting indicator, right? Or a counter indicator. Why? Because I do see, for example, PLSX, right? It just like went ginormous. What can I do with a bubble that big? We kind of got, in the real life, we go and try to burst that thing, right? So I apply the same analogy. Let's take a look at Filecoin, and then let's take a look at PI plus X. You can trade it. No, you cannot really trade it. So let's do STX. Yeah, you can trade this. All right. So let's do Filecoin and STX. And let me show you what do I look for into these kind of coins, right? So Fart coin. There you go. Man, it's always so hilarious to write it. All right. Fart coin at this point. Are we... Oh, no, wait. Not logarithmic. There we go. All right. Much better. All right. Are we into a pattern that can be traded? I would say that we are. So it actually has the pattern that I was expecting out of Bitcoin, right? Let me go back to Bitcoin really quick before I go over this one. So let's go in this chart so I can show you once again. Oh man, was it in here or was it? Please tell me that I did not remove this. And I think I did. All right, there we go. No, I did remove it. So I think it was, where was it, man? I think it was in here. with the sweep of the lows in here, and then it burst. It was something like that. So Filecoin has it, right? Going onwards, making the Bart Simpson, making the sweep of the lows, closing back inside the range. What is the range? A range. Back the pattern, which the pattern is a range, and we're at the top of the range. So how do we trade this? Right? We trade it by breakout retest of Vigo. You see that?
Yep. Okay.
So that's what we're going to be looking for. Or at the very worst, create a higher low for a long entry. So you got me here, by the way. I mean, I was saying let's wait for tomorrow. But this one, I mean, maybe tomorrow, it's the entry. Right? So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Then let's go back to, and we said what stocks, right? STX. Yeah. Let's go take a look at the STX. STX in here.
Can
All right.
can we also do Gala?
Can we, what?
Gala games.
Gala. Do you want me to take a look at Gala?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Anytime. So at this point, do we have a clean entry? Not really. We don't have, why? Because we don't buy tops. We buy retracements, right? To where? If we have A, this is both an order block and also A. Can anyone remind me? This is, let me give you guys a quick, oh man. This is a FVG, fair value gap, all right? So we have a fair value gap here. Usually we see a correction for further continuation to the 50% fair value gap. So if we get here and we're still above the zero line, you still have your chance for a move for an entry, right? So what we called early in this class for create some structure, right? So STX is not actually looking like entry to the upside. It's actually looking for a possible short. Let's go back and see where do I have my resistances. Look at that right there. All right. So if I see a possible movement here, why shouldn't I buy here? Because we could be creating a lower high, right? Which right now have a higher low, creating one of my favorite patterns, to be honest. It is one of my favorite patterns, asymmetrical triangle, right? So a symmetrical triangle is 50-50, right? But if we take a look at the volume, we see more time above, more time below. I would call it that we have the possible breakout retest, your entry, and if we go to the next resistance, right? So I don't play with my money. I try to do this, right? And this breakout retest could be one single candle, could be this breakout retest as we go, right? So you need to be cautious here. What I usually do is I right click in here, lock it, and then add an alert. But then I just kind of like move it slightly. Let me unlock it, move it slightly above. There we go. So I have that threshold zone. All right, let's take a look at Gala. Quick question. Why would you be looking at Gala? Just because you like it? Because you see volume rushing in? What is the characteristics that draws you to Gala? I'm just curious.
They released a new game. It's called White House Egg Hunt,
Oh,
and it was retweeted by White House itself.
nice.
And to be honest, I was long for 14%, and then I closed it, and it just dumped. So I don't know where to go now.
I see. Are you out, or are you out of the position?
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. All right, perfect.
I'm out.
You might
Yep.
be still have a secondary chance of Gala, but if you don't know what to go to Bitcoin, right? I mean, you already have. Yeah. So the point will be again, not financial advice, right? If you like, for example, Fartcoin, right? I mean, I know I was bashing on Filecoin, but if you see an opportunity of Filecoin and I told you go to Bitcoin, right? But you want to go to Filecoin, well, follow your gut, but always with that strategy. All right, always be careful. Always use that strategy. Why? Because sometimes, I mean, I could be wrong, and maybe by listening at me telling you go to Bitcoin because that's what I would be doing, right? You could be missing out on a bigger move, right? And I don't want you to feel that way. But But if you want my opinion, I would put it on Bitcoin. So Gala, all right, Gala is fairly interesting right now. Why? Look at that trend line, right? That trend line actually tells me that this trend is not a trend line. It is a median, right? What kind of median? Let's just let the computer find it, and you'll see what I mean. On the second button here, we go all the way down to the center, all right, to regression trend. And I'm gonna grab it from the very first double bottom, which is where it starts the trend line, all the way to the end. I don't need to be precise. Look at that. I can even go, my center line can go flat. And well, it is not as dramatic as I expected, but so far, here we got it, right? This is a channel. So what is your second opportunity? Well, when you launch a token, this is a classical pump and dump. Why? Because behind you, there was people with early access. There was people falling in line, so on and so forth. Usually, DCAing in and having also a factor of like good luck. Why or what kind of good luck you need? You need that good luck that game actually performs well, right? So as long as that game looks fantastic, performs well, and people are playing it, you can buy a re-entry. What's going to be your re-entry? Well, then where you have your confluence? POC, dynamic reactor, and support. All right. So this is your re-entry zone. When do you know that you're going to be going for that re-entry? So far, we have a possible bearish divergence. All right. So wait for the bearish divergence to play it out. And when you start seeing flip of the ribbon on support, and as long as the price hits on some sort of support, and remember, your support can be all the way down here, right? But you see flip of the ribbon and we're bouncing off support, that's your next entry. For what? For your worst case scenario. What could be your worst case scenario? Your worst case scenario in this case could be a dead cat bounce. All right. So what do? You enter here, you exit here at the median, right? And then I'm inventing this trend line because that I believe that we're gonna be bouncing off resistance. Where is my resistance? Money flow, right? Previous week. So that's what I'm creating this trend line somewhere around that same area. All right. Dynamic reactor coming up. So that is again resistance. All right. So let me just clean this up so you have a better perspective of what I'm talking about. All right. So your entry for a long, take profits and move your stop to entry and then let it run. If it breaks out, take profits, right? And then what you do, you re-enter, take profits, you re-enter, take profits, so on and so forth, all right? But so far, this is the most important part because this could be creating a further move. At least you're aiming for this gain. And then if you reject, you just wait, and if we lose the 0.01 zone, that is your entry for breakout retest of ego. For shorting it, all the way TP number 0.13 and 0.012. Use a stop loss. All right, so that is for Gala. But if you're already out and you're looking for something more interesting, go to bubbles. Look at what is in here. For example, Hex, right? Hex, can I trade Hex? Not really. You just can't trade it here. I don't have an account to whatever this is. Which one is Stacks? We already have gone to Stacks, Firecoins already, Mana. Can I trade it? Yes, I do have a couple of accounts in here, right? Let's take a look at Mana. Let's go to Firecoin. Let's do Mana. And let's open it up. Can I enter here? Am I bottoming? Am I breaking something? Yeah, I'm breaking it, right? I'm breaking it. No doubt about it. But I don't, well, at this point, I try not to buy breakouts because I could be buying the top before I reject out of the dynamic reactor, all right? So what I want is to be patient to have a big breakout and then retracement, your entry on dynamic reactor, staying above your zero line, flip of the ribbon, your entry, and off you go. Money well spent, right? So that's what I could be maybe suggesting if you want to start trading. At this point, maybe it will be worth doing a ton of analysis and looking for what is your interest on many coins, right? Maybe you can even go to the, I don't know, CoinGecko, right? And then do the top 100 or whatever, right? I mean, you can even go up right here or the last one or whatever, right? But this is injective, maybe INJ, right? That has been fairly good, right? So say, all right, say having a big dump. I don't know. So maybe injective INJ. Let's go to injective INJ. We click the search button here. We add it. All right. And we ask ourselves the same thing. Right. Am I in entry zones? No, my entry point was in here, So I have two bottoms. Right. And then what else I have? I have a top, and maybe another bottom. So that means I can draw a couple of things, right? You firstly can draw a trend line. It's not about your breakout, right? Let's fix it a little bit better. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not about your breakout. It's about your retest, and off we go. You could have no retest in here. You could maybe just wait for this, bounce, and then look for a meaningful high, which could be right here. Sorry, meaningful low, or right here for a double bottom. And what is going to be your guidance? Your oscillator. All right. If you don't have this prime oscillator, don't worry. Use the RSI Prime. This is a free one. And what you want to look for are tiny candles. By the way, quick advice, go to settings. This is recorded, by the way. Change it from candles with patterns to high Kineshi. All right, click away, click OK. And then what you want to look for, it is those bottoming sections, right? Let me just get rid of this. Look at the tiny candle. What happened? Reversed. Look at the tiny candle. What happened? Reversed, right? You might need to front run this a little bit or go with, where was it? Next one, to the candle closure. So this would have been your entry, all right? Remember, this is not it. You need to add support and resistances. So at least add support and resistances, right? So what? To know how far you're going to be taking your TP1, TP2, and move your stop to entry, all right? So, for example, in here, all right, what are we expecting up here? Tiny candle, a big reversal. Tiny candle, a big reversal to where next support. That's where you're going to be looking for maybe the next tiny candle right down here, right? So see how am I not rushing in, right? I'm not looking for right now entries. I'm looking for projects that can get me money, right? Because at the end of it all of us want this, right? All of us want this. All of us want this, right? I mean, that is just human nature. We want the rush of it, right? And that's fine. We just need to prepare for it beforehand, right? You already have seen a couple of coins being bursting. Well, then what do you think could be the next one to burst? And then you go to here, look for your top 100, start going, all right, you can do BNB, Solana, Dogecoin, Tron, Cardano, Lido. No, we don't do that. Leo. Really? Leo? Shit, man. Well, I guess Stellar, Shiba, Toncoin, Sui, right? Hyperliquid, Litecoin, Polkadot. Man, I still remember when Litecoin was number 3. That's how old I am. All right, so that's how you prepare for the next burst, right? Plenty of time you have, man. In money allocation, you're already happy because you're out of that trade. So don't rush, don't rush. How about TRX short? All right, let's take a look at TRX short. And then I'll wrap up the class because I have to prepare for the night class today. TRX. Let's take a look at that. Whew. All right, 12 hours. Let's go to 4 hours. Could be, man. Could be. All right. Could be, but not quite there yet. Why? Let me just clear this up first. Let's get started from from the background here. And what I'm liking about TRX is that it's just a beautiful pattern, right? Look at that. It's not about your breakout, it's about your retest, and off you go. You already had that. So let's do the same thing the opposite way. This is actually looking much bullish than bearish, right? It's not about your breakout, it's about your retest, and possible off we go. The only thing that could go wrong in here, would be maybe if this is a high, we could be forming, and that's why we need support resistances, we could be forming a dead cat bounce, all right? So that would have been your short. But also look at that. We have one big candle. Well, then we're rushing through that zero line. Not quite there yet. Possible, but not quite there yet. Let me bring there we go, my support and resistances. Here's where you're going to be looking for that short, right? Let me see. Oh, maybe push it high. Oh, man, I don't know. Could be. But at this one, my brain is just telling me to go long. Let's see what else. Yeah, this is going to be the area where you're going to be looking for a short. Oh, maybe are you looking at that order block? Is that it? If that it, well then go look for the liquidity. It's not that liquid. I mean, it's a high order block, but it's not that big. So yeah, I would say look for this dead cat bounce, flip of the ribbon, or at least something like this, right? Flip of the ribbon, and that will be your short opportunity. 1 hour. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. Let me clear this up so we are not biased. 1 hour. We're fighting on the dynamic reactor. Could be a sooner breakdown right here. Base your trade on the RSI. So maybe something like that. We're loud order block. All right. So if you're going to be shorting it, short it higher to the loud order block, because that's where we're having a trend line. In fact, we're having a broader wedge. You see that? In fact, if I do my broader wedge, I bet you that we could be having, there we go, look at that target. So it could be a shorter incoming. I mean, if you're looking at a more chunkier candles, because of this could be forming maybe a pennant. So be careful on this one. I could be wrong because we are reversal zones, right? That's the truth. There are reversal zones. I would say wait for that tiny candle to appear. Right? But yeah, anytime, my friend. Anytime. All right, guys. So it's time for me to let you guys go. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. And also have a safe rest of the week. I think it's going to be very volatile, this one. For sure. Great, Jesse. A friend. Oh, by the way, man, thanks for that guiding me through. Really appreciate it, brother. And my pleasure, you are. Thank you, guys. All right. Other than that, I guess I see you well, next class or tomorrow or tonight, whatever you feel like. Remember that tonight. Yeah, absolutely. I got a YouTube show tonight. We're gonna be looking at the next chapter. It's gonna be just the introduction, right? I think with this pump and dump thing, everybody's going to be just wanting to do analysis. So I'm just going to be doing the introduction and then going over a couple of analysis. But see you guys there. And thank you. Good night.